Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Bhagavad-Gita as it is, from the 4th chapter entitled Transcendental Knowledge, text number 10. Vitaraga Bhayakruda Manmayamamupasritaha Bhavo Jnana Tapasa Puta Madbhavam Agataha. Vita, freed from. Raga, attachment. Bhaya, fear. Kruda, and anger. Madmaya, fully in me. Mam, in me. Upasritaha, being fully situated. Bahava, many. Jnana, of knowledge. Tapasa, by the penance. Puttaha, being purified. Madbhavam, transcendental love for me. Agataha, attained. Being freed from attachment, fear and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. Purport. As described above, it is very difficult for a person who is too materially affected to understand the personal nature of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Generally, people who are attached to the bodily conception of life are so absorbed in materialism that it's almost impossible for them to understand how the Supreme can be a person. Such materialists cannot even imagine that there is a transcendental body which is imperishable, full of knowledge, and eternally blissful. In a materialistic concept, the body is perishable, full of ignorance and completely miserable. Therefore, people in general keep this same bodily idea in mind, and when they are informed of the personal form of the Lord, for such materialistic man, the form of the gigantic material manifestation is supreme. Consequently, they consider the Supreme to be impersonal, and because they are too materially absorbed, the conception of retaining the personality after liberation from matter frightens them. When they are informed of spiritual life, when they are informed that spiritual life is also individual and personal, they become afraid of becoming persons again, and so they naturally prefer a kind of merging into the impersonal void. Generally, they compare the living entities to the bubbles of the ocean, which merge into the ocean. That is the highest perfection of spiritual existence, attainable without individual personality. This is a kind of fearful stage of life, devoid of perfect knowledge of spiritual existence. Furthermore, there are many persons who cannot understand spiritual existence at all. Being embarrassed by so many theories and by contradictions of various types of philosophical speculation, they become disgusted or angry and foolishly conclude there is no supreme cause and that everything is ultimately void. Such people are in a diseased condition of life. Some people are too materially attached and therefore do not give attention to spiritual life. Some of them want to merge into the supreme spiritual cause, and some of them disbelieve in everything, being angry at all sorts of spiritual speculation out of hopelessness. This last class of men take to the shelter of some kind of intoxication, and their affirmative hallucinations are sometimes accepted as spiritual vision. one has to get rid of all three stages of attachment to the material world: negligence of spiritual life, fear of a spiritual personal identity, and the conception of voids that arises from frustration in life. To get free from these three stages of the material concept of life, one has to take complete shelter of the Lord, guided by the bona fide spiritual master, and follow the disciplines and regulative principles of devotional life. The last stage of the devotional life is called bhava, or transcendental love of Godhead. According to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.4.15.16, the signs of devotional service: Ado Shada Tata Sadhu Sangu Sangata Bhajana Kriya Tato Nararta Niviti Shad Tanonista Ruchis Tata Atashakti Tato Bhavas Tata Prema Bhujjansyati Sadakanam Ayam Premna Pradur Bhave Bhavet Kramaha. In the beginning, one must have a preliminary desire for self-realization. This will bring one to the stage of trying to associate with persons who are spiritually elevated. In the next state, one becomes initiated by an elevated spiritual master, and under his instruction, the neophyte devotee begins the process of devotional service. By execution of devotional service under the guidance of the spiritual master, one becomes free from all material attachments, attains steadiness in self-realization, and acquires a taste for hearing about the absolute personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. This taste leads one further forward to attachment for Krishna consciousness, which is matured in bhava, or the preliminary stage of transcendental love of God. Real love of God is called prema, the highest perfectional stage of life. In the prema stage, there is constant engagement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So by the slow process of devotional service, under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, one can attain the higher stage, being freed from all material attachments, from the fearfulness of one's individual spiritual personality, and from the frustration that result in void philosophy. Then one can ultimately attain to the abode of the Supreme Lord. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyanandana Salakya Sakshuramilitam Jnana Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakham Vitamscha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha Manmaya Mamupasritaha Bahavu Jnana Tapasa Putamad Bhavam Agataha. Being freed from attachment, fear and anger, being fully absorbed in me, and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. So here we find a description of three types of material attachment, namely attachment to things, fear, and anger. Attached to the material body and enjoying the senses, we are apareyamitsastvanyam prakitim vidame param jivabhuta mahabaho yayedam daryate jagat. We are trying to exploit the material energy in various ways, manipulating it in this way, that way, always looking for profit. We bring such material desires also in spiritual life, and then we try to combine the spiritual goal of devotional service with sense gratification. And whatever condition we get both, that's where we want to be in devotional service. It is very hard to come to unconditional devotional service. Bhayam dvitiya abhinivesita syat. There is fear. As soon as one has any personal interest, there is fear. As soon as we hope that the material circumstances exactly will have the outcome as we desire it, instead of relying on the plan of the Supreme Lord and allowing the outcome to happen according to His plan, as soon as we rely on our own plans, there will be anxiety, because we are not the controller. At least not Ishvara Parama. We are controllers, but minute controllers, and that is the difficulty. We are infinitesimal. We are very tiny living entities. What is our power? The material energy is the reflection of the spiritual energy of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, even in the face of the material energy, what can we do? Not so much. So many things are going on in the world beyond our power. Every day there is some drama, then it is an earthquake, then it is a flood, then it is a drought, whatever it is, a storm, big cyclone. All these things are happening, and what can we do? Nothing. So we depend on Krishna for the outcome. But that is very difficult, because we have personal desire, and we hope that the material energy will be favorable to fulfilling these desires somehow or other. And the hope is so strong that we become very optimistic and say, you never know. You never know. It can happen. No, but you see, it's that look, it's not so likely that you'll ever become extremely rich since you joined the Hare Krishna movement. Right? Probably you will not become so rich. No, but you never know. It may be. It's possible. Anything is possible. Positive thinking, Prabhu. So this positive thinking is that as long as you positively think about a particular goal you want to attain, it's going to happen, it's surely going to happen, then it will happen. Prabhupada had a response to that, and that was a story about a man who went to the bank, and he went to the teller who had the money, and the teller had a whole stack of money. Then the man pulled out some notes and he threw them on the pile of the teller. And the teller said, "What are you doing? Why are you throwing money here?" He said, "Sir, I have heard that money attracts money. So therefore, I'm throwing these bills to attract your money." The teller said, "Yes, money does attract money, and my money has attracted your money." This is Prabhupada's story. So, in this way, we can think that we, the small living entities, if we think very positive, that we can control the material circumstances. But the truth of the matter is karvana mai manasat karvana Uh-oh. 1 minute, it will come back in a moment. It will come back. It usually does. So far. At this stage, it still comes back. Anyway, basically, everything in life is going on by the arrangement of the Supreme Lord and by the karma that we have accrued. And there is really nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do to change that, but it seems that we can. It very much seems so that we can change destiny in our life, because it seems that by our work we can change our destiny. We have all experience. You can walk in the shade, you can walk in the sun, you can work and you can make good money by working hard. You know, I mean, young man, I have worked for so many years, and now look at me. I became very rich. This is the result of my work. No, within the scope of our karma. We cannot work beyond the scope of our karma. Within the scope of our karma, we have some choices we can make. But Hridayananda Maharaj had a good example. He said, we are on a plane. The plane is flying in a particular direction. That you cannot change. But you can choose on which side of the plane you want to sit if it's not full. Right? If it's full, you cannot even do that. But if it's not full, you can choose some seat. So, okay, there we have some choice. That's all. So, but in general, our karma is predetermined. And thus, and even then, what can we change? Like there I use the example of the old-fashioned suitcase, and how once upon a time there used to be suitcases without wheels, believe it or not. Yes, yes. And people used to carry them in one hand until the fingers were all bent, and then move them to the other hand until those fingers were also bent. Then they would carry it on the shoulder, on the head, right? Wherever they could carry this suitcase, before they invented the wheels on the suitcase. So karma is like this. We carry it in one hand. When that gets too much, we can shift the suitcase to the other hand, but the suitcase goes still with us. So when we go to an improved situation, apparently, better situation, we still bring the karma with us. And as a result, we haven't improved the situation at all. Still the amount of happiness and distress is in the suitcase. Yeah. So whatever happiness and distress is in the suitcase, that is what we'll get, even if we change place or circumstances. So karma in this way is very predetermined. And one should simply give up the desire. One should give up the desire to control the material energy, to enjoy the material energy, and to simply accept it as it comes. That doesn't mean we are not meant to perform work. We are meant to perform work for our maintenance, but that work should be minimal. In the Vedic culture, we see that the topmost men in society, the Brahminical class, they were spending very little time for their maintenance. They were not working very, very hard to make their bread and butter, and as it was coming, all right, they were teaching something, the students would bring some rice, We remember the story of the poor Brahmana minister of King Krishna Chandra from Krishna Nagar, and he was living so poor, and the king said, please take a salary. No, I don't need a salary. Something, let me at least give you some salary. No, I don't need a salary. Take a little. I said, no, I'm fine. My students, they bring me some rice, and we have this tamarind tree in the garden, and my wife, she makes this very nice soup from the leaves. Perfect. Nice rice with tamarind soup. What more do you want? So Vedic culture was a culture of minimizing one's needs. And that was glorified. Now, what is glorified? The bigger, the better, the more expensive, and so on. That is the best. In this age, aristocracy is related to wealth, says Bhagavatam in the 12th canto, when it describes the symptoms of Kali Yuga. So, what shall we say? We are, but in this movement, we're returning to spiritual culture. Therefore, if one can live simple, that is preferred. That is preferred. The less entanglement for one's livelihood with the material energy is always preferred. However, so on the one hand, we live as simple as we can, right, in our personal life. For some, that is only a fan. For other, that is air conditioning. And for yet another, that is some little bhajang kutir on the side of Govardhan. And for some, it is a bit of both. Whatever may be, right? Whatever simple means. But it is favorable to live simple. And why is it so? Is renunciation valuable for spiritual life? Well, it is said that vairagya in itself is not a limb of bhakti. You're not getting love of God from being renounced. But being renounced will make us emotionally free and will make us physically free. When we have a lot of things, we have a lot of things to look after. And that takes a lot of time. It consumes a lot of time and energy. So then our time, energy, and is going for all those things that we look after. Therefore, renunciation is giving us time, it gives us energy, and because by nature we are never independent. By nature, we always are in relationship depending on external things. We're depending on food, we're depending on air, we're depending on the temperature, we're depending on water, we're depending on friendship of people. If you have no friends, then it gets too much. I'm all alone. So we're very much depending on many factors outside of ourselves. That is our constitutional position. We cannot exist independent. It's not possible. We're always dependent. Even a very renounced person is still dependent. So, and because by nature we're emotional beings, we get attached. it's like I've seen someone in Vrindavan for many years living under a tree, and then he got a few kurtas, and he had a few cloth hangers hanging on the tree. So now the tree had become a house, right? It's like there were, you know, some kurtas hanging nicely on hangers. Now it is no longer living under a tree. Then that's treating the tree like living in a house. Living under a tree, the 6 Goswamis, not even under the same tree. Sometimes a tree here, sometimes a tree there. That is different. So therefore, wherever we are, we also become emotionally attached to these things. We become conditioned by it. Whatever we've done for a long time, whatever you eat every day for many years, if you have to stop that, you could even die. Right? You suddenly change the diet, eat something. If you haven't eaten pakoras for 20 years, if you do eat one day, don't know what will happen. Yeah? So like this, we are experiencing how we get emotional attachment, physical attachment, and all these things we get thoroughly accustomed. Our body becomes conditioned by it, and it's like very, very strong. So in this way, one can get very entangled. Now, if there's a culture where it is the culture to live simple, I'm saying not necessarily in poverty, but simple, so that one doesn't have to endeavor so much, yes, then we can see many advantages. I have one story to illustrate my point, otherwise you fall asleep. So one time, many years ago, I was the temple president of this temple, and it was a very busy life. And there was one rule which we were following at the time, that was that Prabhupada had said the temple president should sign every check. So he was the co-signer on every check. So in this way he would always know what money would go out. Okay, so I was following that, so signing a lot of checks. And it meant people were always chasing me for getting a check signed. If I was in the shower, someone would come to the shower and go like, "Can you please sign this check?" Oh, what? In the shower right now. "The bank is closing, please sign the check. My hand is wet. We have a towel." Anything to get me to sign the check. Yes. Then, so sometimes, just to take a break, I would go to the office, and I would go out of the office to Govardhan, and then there would be people there who would go, "Can you please sign this check?" So wherever I went, people were chasing me to sign checks. So I decided to go for a walk in the fields. I think just where the farmers are, I think here no one will find me. Finally some peace. So I was walking in the fields, and then I met this farmer there. And this farmer is saying, look, he's standing with a bicycle next to the field, and he said, "Yehi hai hamara kheti." This is my crop here on this field. This is mine. So I said, "Oh, very nice, right?" He said, yes, it is very nice. It is a very nice crop, very nice." So he was a simple man, right? Almost little like a child, you have a child with a bicycle, and the child will say, "This is my bicycle," and then you have to say, "Oh, is that your bicycle? Oh, that is a very nice bicycle." And the child, yes, very nice. And this man was a little bit like this, you know, simple man. Huh? So I started in my mind thinking, yes, nice man, but little childish. And then he tells me, yes, I come here every day. So by then I was treating him like a child. I said, really? You come here every day? He said, yes, every day. I said, yes. He says, I come here every day, 1 hour, and then I go home, and then I do puja. And I was thinking, this man is not so childish. Huh? He just a little field, probably has a small little house. The whole family lives in there. He's doing puja, the whole house is doing puja. And he works 1 hour a day and the rest of the day he does puja. He's got to figure it out. I was thinking, this man, he actually has the secret to life. He works 1 hour a day and the rest he does puja. You do that. Huh? Just see if you can manage that. So just see the advantage of simple living. So that is there. So when we speak about attachment, there is the attachment to enjoy the senses. But then there's also fear. Different types of fear. Fear that we might lose the sense enjoyment we have. All these things that are so dear to me, what if I lose them? What? Oh, many locks on the door and insurance and guards and cameras and alarms. What else can you have? Fire extinguishers, you name it. Safes, bunkers, tunnels, I don't know. So many arrangements for security of the things that we have. Then there's another type of fear. Fear that everything may be finished just like that. Fear of death. And fear of death can come in many ways. Adhyatmika, adhibhautika, adhidaivika. It can come from the body itself. Just suddenly, boom. Something can go wrong any moment. Scary if you think about it, and you can read about it. You know, there are websites you can read nowadays, and they tell you anything about everything that can happen. And have you heard of Murphy's Law? Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So, how about that? So anxiety. A lot of anxiety about all that can go wrong. So now it's no longer attachment to enjoying. Now we are full of anxiety out of attachment. And we're protecting ourselves in every possible way. But of course, it's not possible to protect ourselves. Maybe the arrangement we make for our protection will be the cause of our death. What do we know? How we will die. There's that old story about a prince who was predicted to be killed by a boar, and who at a particular time on a particular day. So the king arranged that his prince at that time was in a tower, locked inside, and there were guards around the tower. And then at the time, a shield fell off the wall, and later they saw that on the shield there was the mark of a boar. He had been killed by a boar. So the arrangement for the protection became the cause of the death. So in this way we cannot we try to protect ourselves, but atma sanyesu asatsu api. How can we protect ourselves? How can our family protect us? We go to our family for protection, but they cannot protect themselves. We don't know. We are not in control. So all this attachment to enjoy or fear, and then finally anger, coming out of frustration when nothing works, when we don't get our way. Anger is the younger brother of lust. Then we will, that anger will come out in so many ways to other people. So all this can disappear if we simply leave it up to Krishna, whatever Krishna will send. And we simply try to please Krishna. And then Prahlad is the example of one who is fearless. No one is fearless like Prahlad. Prahlad was thrown in a pit with snakes and he was calm. He was just fully confident. Whatever happens, whether I'll live or die, it's fine. The Lord has His own plan for every living being in this world, and it's perfect. So there's no need to be in anxiety at all. I think in this regards I have my example that once I flew in a very small plane and it was very bad weather and this plane was like really dancing in the sky in such a bad way that I managed to chant 16 rounds in 1 hour. And you may not believe that it's possible, but I tell you, when you're scared enough, you can. I was chanting like in utter fear. I was chanting, but I was so happy to be on the ground. I was just very scared in that plane. So Prahlad had reliance on the Lord, but not that fear. We may rely on the Lord, but at the same time there's fear. So it definitely takes cultivation of fearlessness. You don't just fearlessness. To conquer fear is not just a matter. All right now. There's no point in being afraid. I should just calm down. Take a deep breath. Calm down. Yes. I'm fine. No, that's not conquering fear. Conquering fear means to let go, to trust Krishna. You say, yes, Krishna. Krishna will make arrangements. Krishna he knows what is the best. And Krishna is kind. Therefore, Krishna will do the best. Name bhakti panashyati, my devotee will never perish. Krishna will not throw me in any condition to destroy me. Even if Krishna will put me through some hardships, then that's also must be good for me. But I know that Krishna is always having my best interest in mind. Therefore, I do not have to worry. That is the spirit of becoming fearless. Not by some technique, breathing, calm the mind, calm the mind. No. Krishna has the best intentions. That is the actual way to conquer fear, to put our faith in that Krishna is our well-wisher, is our best friend, has our best interest at heart. So in this way, once we overcome this material attachment to enjoy, the fear and the anger out of frustration, yes, then we can actually turn to Krishna and appreciate Krishna, and then we can go forward and develop transcendental love, as it is mentioned here. Being freed from attachment, fear and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. Thank you very much. Now any questions or any comments? Yes, please.
Thank you for that. Maharaji, should not we have anxiety for Krishna's cause, that Krishna wants this movement to be, as Hare Krishna movement to be spread, the living entities to be there, and getting this knowledge, and naturally the anxiety in the devotee's heart comes, how to preach, how, and we make plans also for preaching. Good, in that sense. It's good, but what is your...
We can take our propensity to be in anxiety and now connect it by making plans for Krishna, and in this way we can get in anxiety for Krishna. But look at Srila Prabhupada. He was the Acharya of this entire movement, founder Acharya. He was managing the movement. He was spearheading the preaching. He was doing many public speaking engagements in temples and public places. He was on TV, and there's that famous interview in America where Prabhupada is sitting and he's in front of millions of viewers and he's completely relaxed. And the interviewer is asking different questions, and Prabhupada is just very calmly, not in anxiety. Why would he be in anxiety? Because Krishna is there, and the truth is the truth, and the message of the truth, of the absolute truth, is the message of the absolute truth. And if that message will be spoken, then there will be success. So it's not like, oh God, now I'm on TV. Whew, this is tough, you know. I mean, 100 million viewers. Ooh, my God, I hope I'm not going to make any mistake. Okay. I've covered myself. I've made a contract with the journalist, with the speaker, and and I've read the questions before. So, and he's not allowed in the contract, no surprise questions. So everything should be okay. It should be okay. But that wasn't problem. Just like that, ad hoc, any question, fine. No preparation and no anxiety. Oh, how do I deal with this question? No, simply answer it from a Krishna conscious perspective. So in this way, Prabhupada did not create this impression that he was in a lot of anxiety. Now, on the other hand, one might say that Prabhupada said to his disciples that they should take some of his headache, right? So that he had to deal with a lot of material energy, and that the material energy is always troublesome to deal with. But I don't know if he really took it in that mood that it was headache. Although he may have said, he didn't make a face like that it was headache. He looked very blissful, actually, because that so-called headache is at the same time the source of our ecstasy. That we are doing things for Krishna. That's our saving. What else? What else to do? What else are we going to do? It's very blissful that I can do something for Krishna, whatever it is. Right? So in this way, in the earlier stage of sadhana bhakti, there may be a lot of anxiety in devotional service, but as we are getting in the more advanced stage of bhava bhakti, prema bhakti, no anxiety. So in bhava bhakti there is a trace, in bhava bhakti there's a trace of suffering, of klesha. And it is mentioned in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, this is due to some remnants of previous Vaishnava aparat. In Prem, there's no sense of any obstacle. Everything is fine. Where is their anxiety? Please.
But Maharaj, not contradicting, but Mother Devaki and Vasudeva were also in anxiety for Krishna. I mean, I'm seeing it, they are on Prema stage, but how we can say they're not in anxiety. But obviously that is different, but anxiety is there also.
The gopis were also in anxiety, but that anxiety, the anxiety of separation, but that anxiety was immediately transforming into ecstasy. Immediately. So, yes, not that it is said all material qualities can be connected with Krishna and also existing with Krishna. Like we're speaking here, overcoming anger. But is there no anger? There is also anger. Mother Yasoda was quite angry when Krishna broke the butter pot. So anger exists, but it is a different anger. It is an anger which is actually ecstasy. It's ecstatic anger. It's ecstatic anxiety. So how can we understand ecstatic anxiety? So that anxiety exists in the Prema Bhaktas. That's my point. Yes, anxiety. But like austerity. For the Prema Bhakta, is there austerity? One may say so. Externally may appear so, but internally, it's just an ocean of transcendental bliss. Goswamis were fasting, Sankhya Purva Ganama Gana Natibi, giving up everything, sleeping under trees, eating a few drops of buttermilk every other day or whatever, hardly forgetting to sleep. Was it austerity? Nah, they were just, it was ecstasy. Oh. And yet, physically, there's austerity. Yet physically, all that fasting leaves a mark on the body. But internally, Prema Bhakti, the anxiety is the cause of ecstasy. Anyway, we can worry in service. We can think, how am I going to do all this? How am I going to get this done? This is so impossible. Yes, but then you think, yes, anyway. But I'll try and Krishna will help me. Think of the cowherd boys walking into the mouth of Aghasura. Doesn't it look like a snake? What is that new cave on the road? Looks like the gaping mouth of a huge snake. What is that road, that path leading up? We have never seen before, going to this huge cave. Looks like the tongue of a snake. We are walking into the mouth of an enormous snake. Anyway, Krishna will save us, even if it is true. So in reality, the same thing comes up in separation. Right? Separation is like, how can separation be the highest? Yeah, but separation is the highest because it immediately leads to remembrance, intense remembrance, and that's immediately, as soon as you remember, it becomes total ecstasy. So it's not that, I mean, you hear Radharani is almost dying. The fever of separation is burning her up. And there's like, it's a messenger has to go to Krishna urgently because it can be finished any moment. What do we do now? Yeah, but so she must be suffering tremendously. No. Each moment of separation and then immediately increased attachment, increased remembrance of Krishna and bliss and love. So difficult to understand. Hot sugar cane, too hot to eat, too sweet to resist. So it is. So the anxiety is there, it's the heat, but it's not the essence. It's just an excuse to increase the sweetness. Now you're still not satisfied. Okay.
I have something more. You gave a wonderful class yesterday. Yesterday was morning. Day before yesterday, in corporation of ISKCON.
Yeah.
So you were mentioning, I'm just thinking in my mind that you said about Prabhupada, he was worried how he will give Krishna consciousness, how he will give Krishna consciousness to Westerners.
No, Prabhupada was saying he's worried about ISKCON, just like Yasoda was always worried about Krishna and chanting mantras for his protection. Prabhupada said he was worried about ISKCON and was like, although actually, right, Krishna doesn't require Mother Yasoda's protection, in the same way ISKCON is also transcendental, didn't require his protection, what goes on by the Lord's energy. So he was saying, yes, yeah, so he appeared to be worrying, but that's not worrying, that is ecstasy. That's ecstasy. You know, it's like, it's nice, we're doing it for Krishna. What is bad about it? We have to make arrangements to make sure all Krishna's things are well protected and taken care of. Yeah, so one is doing. So we use the word worrying for it, but it's not the same as, because we're trying to please Krishna. And then in the end, after we've done everything we can, then we leave it up to Krishna. Because the materialist is worrying, can never leave it up to Krishna. So it's not, the word worrying is, thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.